Are you ready to change your habits, sculpt your destiny, and light up your path to greatness? Welcome to the epicenter of transformation. This is Mick Unplugged. We'll help you identify your because, so you can create a routine that's not just productive, but powerful. You'll embrace the art of evolution, adapt strategies to stay ahead of the game, and take a step toward the extraordinary. So let's unleash your potential. Now, here's Mick.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of Mick Unplugged. And today I am truly honored because we have an extraordinary guest. Talking about someone that is renowned for powerful storytelling and vibrant cross-generational rock and roll. I'm talking about the good stuff. He's a testament to transformative power of music and the importance of staying true to one's passion. Please help me in welcoming the immensely talented, the inspiring, the incomparable Charlie Sugg and the Sound Dogs. How's it going, my brother?
Great, man. It sounded like an intro to like a World Wrestling Association or something. It's like amazing. Yeah, I feel like I should just like jump up and tackle somebody.
Let's go. Let's go, man. This has been a long time coming. Like I said, I'm truly honored. And just so everyone knows, man, I love to hear a little bit about your journey and how music became your thing and the amazing things that you're doing to touch people's lives through music.
So as far as music goes, I mean, I'm sure everyone has a generational story about music. I even do this with my grandkids. I tell my daughter, make sure like they take music lessons by the time they can. So my parents were an immigrant family that came over after the Holocaust, the early 50s. They had no money. They had maybe an American dream, if you want to call it that. Maybe they had a fear of staying safe. So they ended up here in New York, my mother and my father in Brooklyn. And with no money, they still thought it was a good idea for me to take music lessons. They thought that this was an important thing to do. I don't know how important that is anymore, but it should be super important. I mean, it helps the mind. It helps make you think properly, helps you structure your life. And music is the earliest form of communication it could possibly be, right? I mean, from banging on a coconut or a rock or whatever it might be, even before language, physical movement and making sounds is so important. Intonation to loud voices, low voices, all this stuff is incredible. So they thought this is a good idea. Let me take some piano. So that's where it started. Unfortunately, they sent me to some crazy ass woman who had a studio in her basement on the Upper East Side. It looked like Transylvania in there. It was like lit candles. She had flaming red hair. She was from somewhere in Hungary, and she was trying to teach me how to play the piano. And every time I would put my fingers, I'm going to show my fingers, in the wrong spot, we'd be like, don't do that. We go, okay, what about that? No, don't do that. So I knew that music was going to be hard to do. It was going to be painful. But was it going to be worth it? And ultimately, it's worth it. You just thinking that way is an important thing to do. What happened to me was I learned how to play a couple of songs, but I could not go back there. She was too traumatic for me to go back to. So I stopped for a while and I picked up the drums because I figured if I was going to be beaten, I would just beat myself. I would just do it myself. So I picked up the drums. I started playing drums for probably 10 years after that in a lot of rock bands. And that's really created my passion for music. Interestingly, my father, coming from Germany in the 30s, he landed in Brooklyn. And one of the things he did, he had a dry goods store. What a dry goods store is, we sold jeans, T-shirts, things like that. A small version of, I guess, an Amazon type of thing where you buy clothing, you buy what you needed for the day. And he decided he was bored with that and he wanted to do something else. So one day he went out with some family money. He said to my mother, I need something else to do. He comes back later that night. He said, I found a great thing to do. My mother said, okay, great. What, like a bigger store to sell clothing? And jeans goes, no. I found a super great Irish bar to buy in Queens. My mother almost had a heart attack. She almost fainted right there on the spot. She goes, what are you doing? You don't know anything about this business. He goes, yeah, but I think it's going to be great. So he opened up in 1972, 73, called the Popcorn Pub, which later became the Coventry. So that is the first place that KISS ever played in with makeup. One of the first places that Blondie ever played in. Bette Midler played there. Sam and Dave played there. Elephant's Memory, which was John Lennon's backup band. You know Sam and Dave? You know,
Yeah.
there you go. Sam and Dave played there.
Wow.
I was a teenager in that place. So from piano lessons with a crazy piano teacher to playing drums to my father telling me, I want to open up a rock bar. I'm like a 16, 18-year-old kid, right? And my dad comes home and goes, I'm opening up a rock and roll club. I go, oh, what the F? This is like a dream come true. He goes, Dad, I'm putting together a band. Can I play there? And he goes, no, you guys are going to suck. We'll like book you when you can play, which was good because like he wasn't going to just like go, yeah, let his kid play. I had to earn a spot in that place. But that was an amazing experience for me. But, you know, I guess that's why they decided to like give me the piano lessons in the first place, right? There's something in your soul that like says, this is what I'm doing, whatever else you're doing. I mean, he had a dry goods store, right? But why pick a rock bar? There's some reason for doing that. There's some passion that he had expressed or unexpressed, which is in my DNA. It's just there, you know? So that was an amazing thing for me to do, being involved in that. So that was probably the second coming of my musical journey. The first was playing the drums in like, you know, little pre-high school bands, and then this thing. So that's where the musical thing really took off. That was an amazing story. It's an amazing story. You can check that out. Bliss Street. What's the website? Bliss Street Original. Bliss Street Original is a website that you can check that out on. It's the whole story and the coming of the Coventry. That's the thing that really got me going. But before that, he'd been doing other things that I really was somewhat aware about. He had a place in the West Village, Greenwich Village, called the Zodiac. It was a coffee shop. And in that coffee shop, before the Coventry, people came in there. It was folk music. It was like, you know, coffee, play some guitar, do this, do that. That kind of quintessential, like, you know, early 60s vibe. Dylan played there. Bette Midler played there. So he had a taste of that already, which obviously he must have loved because he took it from there out to a much bigger venue. And that place was unbelievable. That place is unbelievable. I didn't know that much about it, but in retrospect, we read a lot about it because we put a play on about this whole experience called Bliss Street. In this place, his manager was a pimp. His driver was a convicted felon. He had the hostesses who were like transgender. He had no problem with any of these people. It didn't matter what your past was. It just mattered what he thought about you. He was a totally welcoming human being. You could meet anybody in there and do anything in there. But one of the crazy headlines of this place was the New York Times did an article about the place. It was a time in the city back in that time where a lot of runaways were like congregating in the West Village. Fathers, mothers, they didn't know where their kids went. They ended up in the West Village. They ended up in this place. They sat outside for hours. He would give them coffee, sandwiches, whatever. Then sat outside the place. The New York Times called this place the sewer of the village. Headlines, the sewer of the village. So I said to my dad, I said, Dad, are you getting pissed off? He goes, no, there's no such thing as bad publicity. It's all good. So it was fun.
He was true. He was true.
It was true. And he knew he was doing a good thing. So he didn't care what they said. But this is my dad. So then this is my background.
Yeah. No, that's all amazing, man. And you know, on Mick Unplugged, we like to talk about your because, right? Like deeper than your why, that because that keeps you going. And this is something you've been doing for a while. Like, what's that thing? What's your purpose that keeps you going? What is Charlie Subs' because?
There's like probably several things, but they probably boil down to one thing. After the music thing, I moved out to LA. I got enamored by rehabbing properties. I just saw something, and then I thought, what can this be? So I saw a project. Everything to me is a project. When I rehab properties in LA, I didn't know I was going to do that. I just needed to leave New York after a certain period of time just to strike out on my own. It wasn't music oriented at that time. It was really just to be, you know, like the quintessential thing, like, let me get away from my parents for a while. So I moved out to LA. I found like things to do there. And one of the things that really intrigued me, I went to a library in Northridge, California. I picked up a book called Ralph Nickerson's book on real estate. And I got really inspired by that. It was like how to become rich beyond your wildest dreams of avarice. So I thought, oh, that's a cool title. So maybe I could do that. So it wasn't so much a spiritual thing, but it turned out to be exactly that. Because I started to buy some property with very little money. I had like a couple of grand. I bought some property. I met a really great real estate broker out in LA. He showed me the little things I could do. And I started rehabbing the properties. I mean, I had no idea what I was doing. I call myself the first rehabber in history. Should have my own
You only get that here. You only get that here. That's amazing, man. That's amazing.
And that was in 75. So
wow.
yeah.
And for those that are watching podcasts, when he's talking about being a grandfather, was doing these things in 75, he looks like he's younger than me. I just want to throw that out there.
we got great lighting in this.
No, man, I love it. So one of the things I really appreciate and admire about you and the music that you and everybody's putting out is you really, really just have feel good, authentic stuff. And for me, that's what music is about. You're not trying to emulate anyone. You're making things that are coherent. So, I'm probably going to piss off some people when I say this. These are the words of Mick and Mick only.
Oh, there you
this
go.
New stuff that comes out, I don't necessarily like it because I can't hear it or understand it. But what I love about you and the group, man, like it's clear, it feels good, and it's just you. Right? Like, how do you do that and stay true to yourself? Because again, I love the fact that you stay true to who you are, man, which is hard today.
That's probably an impossible question to answer because I can't really totally psychoanalyze myself. But what I can say is the weird thing is I don't listen to much music. I'm not influenced by much because I don't listen to much. There are certain things that inspire me, but I'm not a trained musician. So there's not a lot of songs I learned how to play my songs. I mean, to this day, it's probably some ADD-oriented dysfunction I have. But I can't play somebody else's song without getting bored after the first 10 seconds of it. I can't play the whole song all the way through. I go no, I just don't want to do this. So I'll play 10 seconds of the song, and I'll be writing my own song. I'm going off in some other direction. It's like my GPS just breaks. I'm just going somewhere else. So that's just what I do. It's just there's obviously something that's in there, some sort of a library of sounds and music that I fall back on, but I couldn't really tell you exactly what it is. So I know when something is good that I've written. I know when something sucks. And the way I tell is I'll write it. I'll go, okay, it's okay. I'll record it. I'll listen to it a week later. I'll listen to it another week later. After a month of listening to it, if I still think that doesn't suck, then I think, okay, I probably have something good. And what usually happens is I will write the song based on an emotion or a feeling or an event that's happening in my life. As you can tell by listening to it, I'm not writing about world stuff. I'm writing about what happened in my kitchen, house with my family, my cats, my dogs, whatever. That's what I'm writing about. So I think that's what makes it true to me. Just doing that.
I love it.
Yeah.
I truly love it. And the fact that you write is also amazing. And a lot of people that are listening or watching don't understand that a lot of musicians don't write their songs. So it's hard to connect with something that you don't connect with, right? So what's your songwriting process? What is that like for you?
One of the ways is just picking up the guitar or playing some things on a piano. Within any chord, there's there's a little bit of a melody. There's three notes at least, if not more. If I hear something within the chord that inspires me to go okay, let me sing this little thing. But it's usually going to start after I'm sitting down. The reason I pick up the guitar is maybe the reason somebody goes to a gym. It's to work something out in my head. I'm not just picking it up for no reason. I'm just going to go oh, let me just practice doing this progression. I don't do that. I pick it up because I'm either frustrated or inspired or something is going on in my head that I got to get out of my system somehow. I'm not a violent guy, so I pick up the guitar. So
love it.
Usually something will come. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good, but it solves my problem. My problem is to emote and express and connect with somebody other than myself. I just have to get it out of me. So that's the inertia of what I do.
It's amazing. You do it well.
Thank
so
you.
Couple of questions, and you can't cop out on me and say all of them. What are your top 3 favorite songs that you've written and performed? Can't say all of them.
Okay, well, I'm actually looking at a set list because we're playing tonight, so it's actually sitting in front of me, so it's not that hard. So I'm gonna say the first song is Ethel's. One of the songs. It's a song about the bar that I'm actually sitting in. So I actually wrote a song about the bar that I own. That's not easy to do.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. Ethel's is an inspiration of the Coventry and my life and my family's journey to get from Germany to here during the Holocaust and all this other stuff. It's a song that just describes this bar on the Upper East Side and what it's about to me. That was an easy one. You think it would be really hard, and probably under most circumstances it would be hard. I said to myself, this is a great bar. I got to write a song. So, and like 5 minutes later, there was a song. The words took a little bit longer, but the melody was right there. So that's one of them. A really big one. It's called Big Boss Man. That's about my dad. That's
my favorite song of yours, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much. That's a blues shuffle about my dad. That's about the Coventry, about the Zodiac, about him just being him. Yeah, just his attitude about stuff, and that's an amazing thing. And it's also a little bit about teenage angst, because I wrote that a while back.
Okay.
It's about wondering like what my purpose in the world is. I knew what his purpose was. It was clear to me, even if it wasn't clear to him. He was the big boss man. He was the guy who did this thing. He allowed me to exist in his universe, and then I had to find my reason and what I was going to do with it. It's kind of hard because like when you're a kid, there's always an FU to it. It's like, I don't want to live in your world. I want to live in my world. I want to be the big boss man myself. So, but I appreciated the opportunity that was there. And that song I wrote well enough past my teenage years, so I didn't have that problem of stepping out of somebody's shadow. It was more of like an honor to him and what he did for me to allow me to be who I am. So that's one of the big songs.
Love it. Like I said, man, like you really touch souls and you touch lives. And so I personally appreciate that. Second thing, what are you up to now? Like, where do you want the people to know as far as following you, new projects, anything that you want the world to know about Charlie Sub and the crew?
Well, we're still playing. We just got off to 17 shows at the Theater for the New City with the Bliss Street play, which is actually a depiction of this whole thing we've been talking about, from soup to nuts, from like me being a kid to my father owning the Zodiac to me moving out to LA and doing my thing, and then coming back to New York in the 70s, in the middle of New York being burnt down. The Bronx is Burning is one of my songs. It's about New York being burnt down in the 70s. So this is the whole lifespan of an immigrant coming and their kid growing up in a really strange sort of time. It wasn't the 60s, it was the 70s. It didn't really have a definition, except if you were a New Yorker, you knew what that was about. And to me, it was very poignant. So we just finished that. Now we're playing at Ethel's. You're looking at me in Ethel's right now in my bar at 1629 2nd Avenue in New York City. And we're going to be playing tonight. We're doing 2 sets. So we're going to keep doing that. And hopefully we see where we go. We'll probably branch out. We'll do some tours and things like that. But we just keep playing. Just keep playing, Just doing it.
When it's time for a tour sponsor, make sure your people reach out to me. I want to sponsor if you will allow me to.
Oh, absolutely. We got our people right behind me. So they said, yeah, absolutely.
I love it. Where can people follow you and find you? And I'm going to make sure I have these links down in the show notes as well.
I'm going to get you specific information right now. So the first thing you're going to look for is Sound Dogs NYC and Bliss Street NYC.
All right. Sound Dogs NYC, Bliss Street NYC.
Right. So the Sound Dogs will give you the more quintessential band versions of stuff, and the Bliss Street will give you a more showbiz adaptation to what we did. And you can watch the play Bliss Street actually on YouTube. You can see the entire play. It's incredible. I mean, it's just an incredible thing to watch.
We will have a link in the show notes to help drive traffic there too. So
great.
Freaking amazing.
Great.
Freaking amazing. You got it. Well, Charlie, man, I appreciate you more than you know. This was an honor for me to spend some time with you. And I totally would love to do it again. Like, I'll have some stuff for you, but this was an honor for me, and I truly appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon, right?
You got it. And for all the listeners, remember, your because is your superpower. Go unleash it.
Thanks for listening to Mick Unplugged. We hope this episode helps you take the next step toward the extraordinary and launches a revolution in your life. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast, and be sure to check us out on YouTube at Mick Unplugged. Remember, stay empowered, stay inspired, and stay unplugged.